Welcome to the first webinar for the National Animal Disease and Preparedness and Response Program, also known as NADPRP. This is an informational session for applicants. This webinar will be recorded and posted on the APHIS Farm Bill NADPRP website. Before we begin, please ensure you have opened the WebEx participant and chat panels by using the associated icons located at the bottom of your screen. You may ask questions throughout the duration of the conference. To do so, select all panelists from the drop-down menu in the chat panel, enter your question in the message box provided, and send. We will have a more extensive Q&A session towards the end of the conference, and further instructions will be given then. Please note that all audio connections are muted until we arrive at the Q&A period of the call. The main speakers for today will include Dr. Burke Healy, Deputy Administrator for the APHIS Veterinary Services, Julie Wallen, VS Farm Bill Program Director, and Dr. Lee Myers, VS 2019 Funding Opportunity Lead. That being said, I would now like to turn the call over to our first speaker, Dr. Burke Healy.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us today. We're pleased to welcome you to the Veterinary Services first webinar to provide information about the new National Animal Disease Preparedness and Response Program that's supported by resources provided in the 2018 Farm Bill. This Farm Bill that was just passed in December of 2018 is the first time a Farm Bill has been provided funding that directly supports animal disease prevention and preparedness. Section 12-101 creates two new programs, including a new vaccine bank and the Preparedness and Response Program. Additionally, it provides support for the National Animal Health Laboratory Network, so we have additional funding in that. Veterinary Services is excited to be leading this three-tier program that will collectively prevent animal diseases from entering the United States, reduce the spread and impact of potential disease incursions. This new NADPRP program, the focus of today's webinar, allows veterinary services to enter into agreements and partnerships with a wide range of stakeholders and support high-quality projects to advance the nation's preparedness and response capabilities. VS has a long history of collaboration with partners in animal health, and with this new Farm Bill program, hope to further expand those successful partnerships and collaborations. Our intent is to work with you, our stakeholders, to use these resources of this program and our collective expertise to address some of our nation's highest priority concerns related to animal disease preparedness and response. We appreciate your patience as we kick off these new programs. We've had a lot of work in front of us as we stood up this initial 2019 round of funding, but also the additional parts of the program that are key to fulfilling our vision and the vision of Congress and many of you as organizations supported. For this exciting new program and opportunity, we believe we're up to the task with your help, and we look forward to working with you. I have another meeting that I need to step away to attend, but I am happy to turn this over to our other presenters. So let me have the pleasure of introducing Julie Wallen, who's the VS Coordinator for the VS Farm Bill programs. Julie and Dr. Lee Myers with Valerie Martin have an excellent presentation prepared for you today, so we hope you enjoy it and find it informative. Thank you. Julie?
Thanks, Dr. Healy. Yeah, we really are excited to be here today for our first webinar on these new Farm Bill programs, and we want to thank everybody for joining us. So I want to start out by giving everybody just a rundown of our agenda so we're all oriented to what we're going to cover today. Our goal today is to share information with you about the new program and particularly about the 2019 funding opportunity and to give you enough details to help you get started with developing a high-quality proposal. I'm going to kick us off with a recap of the Farm Bill Section 12-101 programs and give you an introduction to the new NADPRP program. And then we're going to dive into details about the 2019 funding opportunity for training and exercise activities, and that will include some specifics on how to apply for funds. And then we'll cover a bit more information about the review and approval and award processes, but mostly today we want to hear your questions, and so we've set aside a good amount of time at the end of the webinar for that. So as Dr. Healy mentioned, the 2018 Farm Bill that was passed last December really is historic because it's the first time one of the Farm Bills has included funding that's specifically aimed at animal disease prevention and preparedness. The three programs in this section include the new NADPRP program, the new National Animal Vaccine and Veterinary Countermeasures Bank, and continued support for the National Animal Health Laboratory Network. So these three programs will be coordinated. They'll all focus on top priorities, and they'll use competitive funding processes. So Congress provides $150 million total for all 3 programs combined for 5 years. And they provided these funds as know-your money, which really gives them which really is a strategic asset for the program because it allows veterinary services some time to stand the programs up correctly and successfully, but even more so, it gives us the flexibility to use the different tools offered in each part of the 3-tier program to respond to current animal disease situations. So to launch all 3 programs, APHIS just recently announced its initial plans for putting the funds to work. And that announcement included that APHIS will make available up to $10 million for the NADPRP and NALM programs in calendar year 2019 for projects that will target specific priorities in each of those programs. And APHIS also announced the initial steps in 2019 to begin to frame up their new vaccine bank. But today, we're really going to focus only on the NADPRP program. So, to give you an overview of the National Animal Disease Preparedness and Response Program, this program will allow VS to enter into agreements with a wide range of cooperators to carry out high-value projects to support the program goals. The program is framed around the 4 goals of biosecurity and prevention, disease detection and surveillance, preparedness and response activities, and outreach and education. So the program will support projects that focus particularly on emerging and foreign animal diseases that have potential for high economic consequences to our U.S. livestock and related industries. And we're also modeling this program based on a similar program that APHIS Plant Protection and Quarantine has operated for over 10 years, also using Farm Bill funds. So the processes that we'll use today in describing the program, such as the 60-day open period for accepting proposals, these are based on the implementation steps that PPQ has had success with and that we think are going to work really well for this VS program. So to get the new NADPRP program rolling, as a first phase is what we're going to talk about in today's webinar. We're kicking off the initial 2019 funding opportunity, and this is like a pilot stage, and it focuses on only one priority, and that's training and exercise activities. With this initial round of funding, the open period will run from now through October, and we hope to be awarding the funds by the end of calendar year 2019. The rest of our webinar today is going to dive into the details on this particular funding opportunity. But before we go there, I want to give you a little bit of information about what's coming down the road with the NADPRP program. So later on in 2020, we'll be standing up what we call the full implementation of the NADPRP program. And in this stage, the program will focus on a broader range of activities and priorities that will be in support of all of the program goals. So the starting point for this later phase in FY20 will be consultation with stakeholders to help us develop the annual NADPRP funding priorities. And that will be followed by an open period for proposals in early calendar year 2020, followed by review and approval processes, and we hope to be awarding funds by next summer. So this cycle, it starts with stakeholder consultation and includes an open period, a review period, and then followed by awarding funds. This is how we see the long-term operation of the NADPRP program. So that's it, a little thumbnail of the big picture. Our focus for the remainder of the webinar is specifically about the 2019 funding opportunity. So before I pass it over to the other presenters, the first thing that we all want you to know is that everything that we're covering today is on our new NADPRP website. This is where you can find the program information, the application instructions, and the slides from this webinar and the recording. You can also go to grants.gov and ezFedGrants to find the application package and other helpful tools that will help you with the application process. And lastly, for any questions that you have, we encourage you to send them to us by email. We have 2 email boxes set up for the program. The first one, the VS NADPRP address, is particularly for program questions, and the second one there for cooperative agreements is designed for questions about the application process and agreements, but any questions you send to either box will be responded to by the appropriate folks. So at this point, I'm really pleased to introduce Dr. Lee Myers to you. Lee is going to cover all the information about the 2019 funding opportunity. Dr. Myers, I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Julie. So I'm wondering if you can see this slide. The journey now begins for the Farm Bill implementation. Veterinary Services announced the open period for 2019 NADPRP funding on August the 26th. For this pilot phase of NADPRP, the focus is specific to emergency management training and exercise events for responders in the animal agriculture sector. You will find the terms training and exercises defined in the full opportunity announcement posted on the NADPRP website that Julie mentioned earlier. Now let us dive into more details. Who can apply for this funding? The Farm Bill is very specific about the entities eligible for funding, many of whom are new partners for VS cooperative agreements. NADPRP allows VS to enter into agreements with a wide range of stakeholders, including state governments, universities, livestock producer organizations, veterinary organizations, and others. You will find the complete list and details in the funding opportunity announcement on the website. VS has identified 3 priorities for this pilot phase. Priority 1 is to support training, specifically to develop and or deliver emergency management training for animal agriculture sector responders. Training activities may support the well-established VS National Training and Exercise Program, also known as NTEP, or other applicable training and exercise programs. Training activities may address lessons learned from recent animal health incidents, outbreaks, or past exercises. Training may also be part of an improvement plan related to an after-action report or corrective action. The scope of these training events may include instruction in specific critical activities. And you see the list here. These critical activities are suggested for NADPRP projects. These 16 activities are a subset of the full list of critical activities that you will find in the VS Foreign Animal Disease Preparedness and Response, or FADPREP, documents. The list you see here is included in the full opportunity announcement and can help guide you in development of your proposals. I'd like to share with you 3 examples of training activities that align with priority 1. The first example is a state veterinary medical association that both develops training materials and delivers the training to veterinarians and livestock producers on foot and mouth disease passive surveillance, such as clinical signs, syndromic reporting, and voluntary stop movement. The second example is a state veterinarian that develops and delivers training to State Department of Agriculture staff on the lessons learned from the upcoming 4-day VS swine fever exercise planned for next month in September, with participation from 14 states expected. By training on the lessons learned and corrective actions, states may enhance their capabilities and input for development of their own state African swine fever, known as ASF, response plan. The third example is an American Veterinary Medical Association specialty board, such as the American Association of Avian Pathologists, that develops training materials targeted for field responders on the depopulation of free-range poultry by containerized gassing in alignment with the 2019 edition of the AVMA depopulation guidelines. In this example, the project develops the materials that can be made available to others in the future who would actually conduct the training. These examples give you idea of training activities that VS has discussed and provide food for thought for relevant and innovative training proposals that you may consider in your application. Priority 2 is to develop, conduct and evaluate emergency management exercises for animal agriculture responders. Here you see two photos of drills, which are operations-based exercises for field personnel. Like the priority for training, exercises may support the VS National Training and Exercise Program or other applicable training and exercise programs, address lessons learned from recent events or past exercises, or be a part of an improvement plan. The same critical activities mentioned for training can also help guide the scope of your proposals for exercise events. Just like Priority 1, I'd like to share with you 3 examples of exercise activities that align with Priority 2. The first example is a national pork producer organization that develops a series of exercise materials for ASF secure food supply plans. The series would include a 2-day workshop to develop a plan, a 2-day tabletop exercise to test the plan, and a 1-day drill to test an operational component in the field. The private sector and other players could then use the materials after the project to conduct and evaluate the exercises in their own context. The second example is multiple state animal health officials in a region who contract with a private company to develop, conduct, and evaluate 2-day workshops in each state to update their state poultry emergency disease response plans based on the lessons learned from the California 2018-2019 virulent Newcastle disease outbreak. The third example is state dairy and beef cattle organizations partnering together with a land-grant university to develop, conduct, and evaluate a 2-day tabletop exercise to test the new state FMD emergency vaccination plan for cattle. Priority 3 supports domestic travel and per diem for responders to participate in training and exercise events. This could include project activities as described in Priorities 1 and 2, or could include training and exercise events hosted by other organizations, such as the VS National Training and Exercise Program, the VS Professional Development Staff, or others from both inside or outside of government. I share with you 3 final examples of activities that align with Priority 3. The first example is a state veterinarian and a college of veterinary medicine working together to send members of the state incident management team and the college emergency team to ICS 300 training delivered by the state fire training agency. The second example is a federal agency that pays for participants in multiple states and tribes to attend a crisis and emergency risk communication training course, first developed by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. In this example, the federal agency would enter into an interagency agreement with VS to receive funding for this activity. The third example is a follow-up exercise to test corrective actions from the 2018 VS Agricultural Response Management and Resources FMD exercise known as RMAR that was conducted in May of 2018. The VS National Training and Exercise Program has included this event in their multi-year plan in order to continue building capability at a regional level and test plans and corrective actions for improvement. In this example, multiple state and tribe animal health officials work together to hire temporary personnel to manage the exercise. You can find this exercise event and others in the VS Training and Exercise Plan that's posted on the National Training and Exercise Program's website for use as a guide for your own proposals. Now, how would these awards be funded? Most award recipients will enter into cooperative agreement with APHIS. As we've said, federal agencies receiving awards will enter into interagency agreements. VS anticipates that funds for most projects will range from $50,000 to $1 million each. However, keep in mind that funding is limited. As you heard, VS has up to $10 million to support multiple projects in both NADPRP and the NOM programs. Project activities may begin the first quarter of calendar year 2020, January through March, and continue for up to 24 months. Because Congress provided these funds as no-year money, VS can enter into agreements that extend beyond 1 year. Cost sharing is not required, but contribution of non-federal resources may be considered. And there's no limit on the number of proposals that each applicant can submit. Proposals may include activities in priority 1, 2, 3, or in any combination. So you may submit as many proposals as you like, both individual and in cooperation with other contributors. How do multiple contributors with individual agreements work together? The Farm Bill allows for multiple applicants to work together and submit a group proposal. A group proposal means multiple applicants collaborate on one proposal for one project, with VS entering into separate agreements with multiple contributors. We ask that one contributor serves as the project lead and submits the proposal on behalf of the entire group. Any contributor that needs a separate VS agreement must supply their grant application forms to the project lead to submit with the application package. Other contributors that do not submit the forms will receive project support directly from the project lead. Here is an example of how a group proposal could work. The project lead sitting at the head of the table will submit the full application package, including the grant application form and the proposed work plan and financial plan on behalf of the group of 7 contributors. The 2 contributors sitting on either side of the project lead need their own VS agreement because there's no mechanism in place for their organization to receive funds directly from the project lead. These 2 contributors provide their own grant application forms to the project lead for submission with the application package. The remaining 4 contributors standing on the other side of the table receive their project support directly from the project lead. Perhaps their organization is not an eligible entity and they enter into a contract with the project lead. Or their organization is an eligible entity, but they decide to enter into a sub-agreement with the lead organization rather than have a separate agreement with VS. So the end result is that VS establishes separate agreements with 3 eligible entities contributing to a single project. Contributors are encouraged to work together on group proposals, particularly for the more complex projects that are larger in scope with a wider impact. VS also has a prominent role in the agreement as a cooperator. As with all cooperative agreements, VS will collaborate with recipients to successfully complete the activities funded by their projects. During the open period, and that is before October 25th, VS staff will continue to provide customer service by answering questions and offering guidance, consultation, and advice to potential applicants within their stakeholder networks. This includes sharing ideas for group proposals through dialogue and meetings, brainstorming sessions, planning workshops, and other means. Note that the applications that you submit should be polished and complete at the time of submission, as there will be no opportunity to amend an application once it is submitted, realizing this is a competitive process. VS would like to know the extent of anticipated involvement of VS staff in the project. This should be described in the project proposal work plan. Applicants should not submit a proposal that is contingent upon VS participation in order to be successful. VS will participate to the extent possible. However, applicants should be aware that VS staff may have to be redirected as needed to other mission areas, including a possible emergency response. Each proposal submitted will be reviewed and ranked against these pre-established evaluation criteria. You will find more information about each criterion in the full opportunity announcements posted on the website. Now, I turn the presentation over to Valerie Martin, who will tell us how to apply for funds. Valerie? Valerie, are you there? Valerie Martin? Just a moment, everybody. Okay. Can everybody hear me? We seem to be having some trouble with getting Valerie Martin on the phone.
Hello, this is Valerie. Can you hear me? Oh, yes.
Thank you, Ms. Martin.
I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. I had to dial back in. I could hear everybody, but you couldn't hear me. I am so sorry.
That's
Thanks,
okay.
Valerie.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Myers, and everybody, and I apologize for that delay. This funding opportunity is a competitive process, so it is important that your application be well-developed, complete, and submitted to VS timely. As part of the competitive process, a reviewer or a team of reviewers will select applications for funding using predetermined screening and evaluation criteria. An applicant may propose to use funds to enter into sub-agreements. Dr. Myers provided an example of this when she covered group proposals. A sub-award may be provided through any form of legal agreement, including an agreement that the eligible entity considers a contract. If a portion of the work will be sub-awarded, the applicant must detail this in the work and the financial plan proposal. Applicants are highly encouraged to submit their applications online using grants.gov or through the USDA Grants and Agreement System called ezFedGrants. Applications may also be submitted via email as outlined in the funding opportunity announcement. Please note the deadline of October 25th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The online and email system-generated date and time documentation will be used as the official receipt time. Applications that are incomplete or received after the deadline will not be considered. To use the online grants.gov system to submit your application, there are several steps you must complete first. You must obtain a DUNS number, which is a 9-digit number assigned by Dun & Bradstreet to uniquely identified business entities. You must register with SAM. This is required for business entities to conduct business with the federal government. And you must register with grants.gov. If you're a first-time grants.gov user, you should go to the Get Started icon on the grants.gov homepage located under the Applicants tab and carefully read and follow the steps listed in order to apply. To use the online ezFedGrants system to submit your application, you will still need to obtain a DUNS and a SAM number as previously mentioned, and then request a Level 2 e-authentication access from USDA, followed by a request for ezFedGrants access. E-authentication accounts serve as a verification of an individual's or an organization's identity and help prevent unethical use of federal financial systems. ezFedGrants, as I said, is the system USDA uses to manage all phases of an agreement that allows recipients to apply for funding as well as submit payment requests and required reports. All applicants selected for award will require access to ezFedGrants. The job aids linked in the slide and in the funding opportunity announcement provide step-by-step instructions for obtaining these accesses. There are also job aids on the ezFedGrants homepage under the training icon and ezFedGrants training tutorials on APHIS's website that applicants may find helpful. Online submissions in both grants.gov and ezFedGrants use the same opportunity number. You can find the opportunity by using the search feature in either system. All application packages must contain the required forms, plans, and information regardless if the application is submitted online or by email. An exception to this requirement is federal agency applicants. They only need to submit via email the work plan and financial plan. The work plan will outline the program objectives and provide details of the proposed activities and the roles and responsibilities of each party to the agreement. We encourage applicants to use the work plan template provided in the funding opportunity announcement. It is a fillable Word document and contains detailed guidance for information required in the plan. A detailed financial plan that aligns with the work plan must be submitted with the application and must match the standard Form 424A budget categories. The financial plan is the financial expression of the resources required to carry out the project. In developing the financial plan, there are cost principles that must be used to determine whether a cost can be charged to a project and, if so, the extent to which it can be charged. More information on cost principles and funding restrictions can be found in the funding opportunity announcement. We've provided contact names, phone numbers, and email addresses for application, administrative, or system issues. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us for assistance if needed. At this time, I'm going to turn the webinar back over to Dr. Myers.
Here's the process to review the proposals. Thank you, Valerie. For this funding opportunity, VS will select an ad hoc review panel of emergency management and training and exercise experts. Subject matter experts from both inside VS and outside of VS will be selected. It's important to note that USDA maintains discretion on the award selection, and may choose to fund all or part of a proposal. You are encouraged to align your project proposals closely with the priorities, the evaluation criteria, and other requirements explained in detail in the funding opportunity announcement. In closing, we want to remind you of the following key dates. First, note that the application deadline is Friday, October 25th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. VS anticipates completing the review process within 30 days after the announcement closes, so the reviews will be finalized by November 30th. That is the target date. USDA will publish the spending plan, and VS will notify all applicants of the status of the award decisions. VS intends for these notifications to take place by December 31st, which is in advance of the NADPRP 2020 funding opportunity announcement. So we encourage you to keep check on the new NADPRP website, which was unveiled on Monday. The website contains information and valuable links, including a link to the application package, and additional information will be added as it becomes available. For questions about the NADPRP program, you will email the newly established NADPRP generic mailbox that you see there, or pick up the phone and call Julie Wallen or me. Valerie also provided you the contact information for questions on the application and administrative processes. Please save the date for the second NADPRP webinar on Tuesday, September 17th, which will be focused on addressing your questions. You will also find the complete details of the webinar on the NADPRP website. So with that, on behalf of the NADPRP team, I want to thank you for your interest in this great funding opportunity to support animal disease emergency preparedness through training and exercise events. Now I will turn it back over to Will to moderate the question and answer session.
All right, great. So to submit a question, select all panelists from the drop-down menu in the chat panel, enter your question in the message box provided, and send. And alternatively, you can press #2 on your telephone keypad. You'll hear a notification when your line has been unmuted, and at that time, please then state your question. And while we kind of wait for questions to come into the phone lines, I do see that there has been one question via chat. And they ask, are indirect costs an allowed budget object category?
Yeah, thanks, Will. Valerie, do you think you can answer that?
Yes, indirect costs are allowed, and applicants that are claiming indirect costs must submit their negotiated indirect cost rate agreement with the application. There is a limitation on the percentage that can be charged against the direct cost, and that can be found in the funding opportunity announcement. Thank you.
Okay. We still have no questions on the phone lines, but I just have seen one more question come into the chat. They ask, do exercises developed under this funding have to align with the HSEEP standards?
Yes, I'll take. Go ahead, Lee.
Yes, I'll take that one. Thank you. Very good question. Now, with the limited time, we didn't have the luxury of getting into a lot of detail, so I'm glad you asked that. We encourage that you use the Homeland Security Exercise and Evaluation Program standards, but no, that's not required. But I think the proposals that do follow those general guidelines that HSEEP provides will be very well considered.
All right, and next question from the chat asks, as a non-NAHLN agriculture lab, would it be worth it to apply for a grant in this period or wait?
So yeah, I can take that. So non-NAHLN agriculture labs are definitely eligible for funding in the NADPRP program, but the proposal does have to focus, as Lee was saying, on the training and exercise priorities that she described. Does that answer that question, or whoever submitted it, do you have a follow-up?
So while we wait for their response, there are a couple of the questions. One asks, would training for preventing health issues for a deer population within a hunting preserve be eligible?
This is Julie. Yes, I do believe that would be. It's not one that I've thought of for the program, but if it's focused on training, and Lee, do you have a comment there? Does it fit within the critical activities that we described?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I think, generally speaking, the priorities of the entire NADPRP is focused on emerging and foreign animal diseases and being prepared for that. Preparedness involves the training and exercises, but the whole concept is to advance capabilities to respond to an outbreak. So that's a bit tricky. I think you just need to consider what the funding opportunity announcement says as far as the priorities and as far as the evaluation criteria, and then develop your proposal accordingly.
Thanks, Lee. So I see another question here, Lee, coming in the chat. The first application should be focused on training and exercises, but the person asked, can actual demonstrations be included in the trainings? Lee, do you want to address that?
Yes, another good question, and I really like that because and I think I tried to put a couple of slides on the training slide that were really more active. So training does not have to be didactic, of sitting in a classroom environment receiving materials in that fashion. So yes, it can be more operational in the field, and so demonstration and learning by doing would certainly fall within the training category. Yeah. Good question.
I have a couple questions that came in. If you are holding a training and also want to support people traveling to the same event, do you have to submit two proposals, one for the event and one for the travel under different priorities? Valerie, maybe you can take that one.
Yeah, this is Valerie. If you're traveling, can you repeat the question again, please?
Sure. If you are holding a training and also want to support people traveling to the same event, do you have to submit two proposals, one for the event and one for the travel under different priorities?
No. If you're holding the training, then the people that are traveling to the event, that would be the resources that you need to hold and conduct that training. So that would be part of that proposal.
The next question would be, okay.
I would just wanted to echo that yeah, we would encourage those to be encouraged to be submitted in a single proposal, but that the work plan and financial plan should delineate the activities.
Correct.
The next question I see is, can international collaborators from FAO or OIE or others be involved or will be allowed to participate in the grant application?
So I can answer that one, thanks. International collaborators are not among the eligible entities to participate, but they could partner with an eligible entity and be involved in that way.
The next could be a comment. It says, restrictions or further guidelines on allowable equipment and supplies. Not really a question.
Yeah, I might could take that one. The The allowable equipment and supplies that are listed in the work plan template that you would put also in the financial plan are intended to support the specific project, the specific training and exercise events. So equipment and supplies that were like a long laundry list or shopping list will not be considered. So the equipment, if you need specific equipment or you need specific supplies in order to conduct the training event or conduct the exercise event, those are the ones that should be listed in the proposal.
Thank you, Dr. Myers. Here's another one you might address as well. I think you cover this in your presentation. Is there a limit to the number of submissions from an applicant, and can one applicant submit multiple types of applications?
Yes, I'll take that one. No, there's no limit, but it will take time to develop a quality proposal. So I urge you to truly sit down and consider what would be in the best interest of your time and also submission. But that said, I think it is possible for your organization, for example, to submit an individual proposal, and then you may also want to partner with other collaborators in a group proposal, for example. But generally speaking, no, there's no limit for the ones that you can submit.
The next question, will state licensed or accredited veterinarians be involved in the planning and implementation of this program? For example, involvement of the AVMA or related animal health care council groups, or teams involving the private veterinary practice sector?
I can take that one too. Involved in the planning and implementation of this program, if you see there, we gave many examples of the eligible entities. And so AVMA organizations that are recognized by the AVMA are certainly an eligible entity, and so are livestock and producer groups, and so are other healthcare council or groups. If they're not listed as an eligible entity, they can partner otherwise, as was mentioned, maybe through a sub-agreement or maybe through a contract. Those submitting the application forms themselves must be eligible entities. But certainly that does not prevent from others that are not eligible from partnering in the entire project.
So I'd also piggyback on that, Lee, and to add to it that VS is required to consult with all the eligible entities to set program priorities, and we plan to do that starting with the FY20 full program implementation cycle.
Okay, so Will, could you put the slide on with the reach information for Dr. Myers and Ms. Wallen, the contact info? I think it's a couple of slides up. And in the meantime, you could probably handle this, Dr. Myers, as two questions together. Are applications actively reviewed prior to the deadline, and will project extensions be allowed past the 24 months?
On the review of applications, there may be a preliminary or cursory review, but the full review from a panel will not occur until after the end or close of the announcement on October 25th. As far as the extensions, I think it's premature to mention that. We're asking that all activities occur within a 24-month period. And I would say any extensions may be handled, no-cost extensions will be handled on a case-by-case basis. Julie, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think that's exactly right. I'd like to go back to an earlier question I saw in the chat room, which is there a percent allotment for each of the eligible entities? And no, there is not.
Okay, the next question, are there any populations or emerging diseases about which you are most concerned and are prioritizing? Also, can funding be used for the development of online training courses to accompany in-person training?
So the second part of that question is fairly easy. So funding can be used for the development of online training courses to accompany in-person training, and that would be encouraged. The first part about populations or emerging diseases about which we are most concerned, there is language, and it goes into some detail. There's language in the Farm Bill itself, and it's also described in the funding application package about the priority to states or regions where there are particular high concerns of high consequence animal diseases. So I would just have to refer you to that section of the application package. The program, as we said earlier, it emphasizes foreign and emerging animal diseases with high economic consequences. VS does have a fact sheet out there that you can Google that lists some of those diseases, and our agency is in the process of updating that as well.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Wallen. Would training and exercises related to emerging or high-risk foreign pests/parasites be included in the phase, I think this is phase 1 of the program? That's similar to what you just answered, I think.
Yes, this is Lee. I'm a little maybe unclear of your question because this phase 1, this pilot phase, if that's what you mean, this 2019 initiative is totally focused on training and exercises. That is the one goal under preparedness and response that will be addressed for 2019 funding. However, 2020, it's going to be more broad and more complex. So, yes, training and exercises, as Julie said, really targeted towards emerging or high-risk foreign animal diseases and pests would be the ones that would be targeted for this funding opportunity.
The next question, how does VS plan to consult with stakeholders regarding FY 2020 to 23 priorities?
So, yeah, this is Julie. I can answer that one. We're in the process now of framing those processes up. In discussion is the formation of a consultation board using USHA assets, and also having open periods where we can have all eligible entities provide written input. So I'll just ask you to stay tuned. We'll certainly be sharing more about that soon because that's a very critical next step.
Can project funds be used for travel of federal employees to attend project training and exercises?
This is Valerie. I can answer that. And no, they cannot. The cooperative agreement award funds cannot be used to pay for federal employees' travel.
Thank you, Valerie. Will the cost of CO2 and animal depopulation demonstration project be considered an eligible cost?
This is Lee. So if you are conducting a training event or an exercise event focused on a certain activity that requires equipment and supplies, and you do not have that, and you must purchase that equipment or purchase those supplies in order to even conduct that activity, those need to be listed in the plan.
And next, I also want to be certain that the info, the reach and contact information slide is available. I'm not sure everybody can see it based on this contact. Here's the next question. Oh, sorry, there may not be another question. Oh, here's one.
I see a question asking about the recording, and yes, this is being recorded, and it will be posted on the NADPRP website in the event that you have their colleagues that missed it. And then we also plan on posting a PDF version of the slides themselves. So you can print those off and take a look as you might need. And there may be other information that will be posted as it becomes available, so keep checking.
Thank you. While the focus of this funding opportunity is training and exercise, can you review the 4 NADPRP goals that will be addressed in future funding opportunities again? Is that one of the?
Yeah, I'd be glad to do that. And again, keep an eye out because we'll be posting on the website within the next month or so the program standards for NADPRP that will go into these in some detail. But the goals of the NADPRP program are biosecurity and prevention, early detection and surveillance, preparedness and response activities, and outreach and education. And as Dr. Myers indicated in this phase 1 of funding, this fall of 2019 funding opportunity, we're really focusing on the training and exercise component of the goal 3, which is outreach, which is preparedness and response.
Okay, next question. Would a proposal involving feral swine be considered?
Yes, I can take that. Swine diseases that are emerging and foreign animal diseases affect feral swine as well. So again, any proposal that would be targeted towards emerging or foreign animal diseases and your proposal includes training or exercise events for that would be applicable.
Okay, this looks like it might be the last question. I assume these funds cannot be applied for and used retroactively to cover expenses from functional exercise expenses encountered by participating in 14 state exercises. Wait a second.
This is Valerie, and I can answer that. That's correct. They cannot be applied retroactively. The expenses will need to occur during the performance period once the award starts in the first quarter of this calendar year 2020 between January and March and run through the end of the performance period up to that 24-month time frame. So the expenses have to occur during the performance period when the agreement is awarded.
There doesn't appear to be any more questions. Julie, or?
Are there any questions on the phone?
There are currently no questions on the phone lines at this time.
Shall we give everybody a minute to see if they want to dial in or add another question to the chat? Anybody have any other things they would like to ask today? Okay, well, I'm not seeing anything come in. Do you see anything, Will?
Nope, still nothing on the phone lines.
Great, thank you. Well, thank you all so much for your time today. We know there's a lot of information to digest in one round. If you have questions, please reach out to us by email. Please continue to check the website as we hope to be posting additional information there. And we look forward to seeing your wonderful proposals. Thank you all very much.
That concludes our conference. Thank you for using AT&T Event Conferencing Enhanced. You may now disconnect.